So good evening everyone, trust you're well, keeping safe. And it's always been a bit of an omen for me, and there's still a lot of talk about things escalating into World War III, nuclear exchange. Prince of Wales aircraft carrier in Italy now saying that they're ready for war. Keir Starmer saying that the UK has got to prepare for war. So there's one big push for the madness of all out war in Europe, NATO, Russia, Ukraine. And again, when I was in Russia, I did see scale models of the UK, London, Leningrad, every strategic target marked, more pins in East Anglia than anywhere else, and the two big red pins, Mildenhall and Lakenheath, big US air bases not far from here. And Lakenheath is where they're now storing all the nuclear weapons, so if Lakenheath took a big hit, certainly would be game over for the UK. And ironically, in Leningrad, right by the Baltic naval docks, there was an American general cargo ship called the Lord Nelson. So one big battle of Trafalgar on the horizon. And we did watch the Russian Baltic naval fleet put to sea. Russia then just invaded Afghanistan and the West was rearing up. Obviously now it's Ukraine. But as always, what has been a big omen for me, again one big battle of Trafalgar on the horizon. So I come out from Africa, genocide on the horizon, Rwanda, mass graves you could have put the population of this into at the time. People hiding in mass graves to avoid being massacred. People dancing with fiendish delight in their victims' blood, real bloodlust. The slaughter was relentless. And when I come out from Africa, this town football club, the Tangerines, had won the Vast Cup at Wembley. And everyone was in the centre of this to welcome back this town football club, the Tangerines, on the Sunday afternoon. I was over at the Stag at Thetford with some friends, not far from RAF Mildenhall and Lakenheath. That was a nice Sunday afternoon. People were having picnics. We were walking through Thetford Forest, and I was thinking about all the people fleeing for their lives through the forest of Rwanda. And there had been a report that 125,000 estimated people had become trapped, and the militia and the soldiers were closing in for the kill. Again, horrendous atrocities now taking place in Sudan, genocide of Christians in Nigeria and in the Congo. And then without warning, there was a blinding flash of light. This is when we were walking through the forest in Thetford. And I've travelled the world in the 7 seas. I've seen some big storms. I've been in some big storms. But I've never heard such a almighty bang that shook the place. Then it sounded like the heavens were tearing apart. And just for a moment, you could have thought that Mildenhall and Lakenheath had been hit with a missile. And again, never a bad thing to shine the light in the darkness. Again, the big disc, Norfolk, UK, black box, serial killer, frame, fix, assassination. No Black Panther, serial killer here, Africa, disc, Norwich and Sandringham, we really don't think so. And then this big electrical storm raged across East Anglia. There were pictures in the EDP of all the lightning off Yarmouth. And the game of this winning the Vast Cup at Wembley in London had been televised and was also being shown on the Sunday afternoon. And just as this was going to kick off, Tackleston Mast, that's Mendlesham Mast over there, but Tackleston Mast was struck by lightning and all the televisions in Norfolk blacked out. So again, we're all in range of war, the unexpected, when you least expect it, on a day just like today. Certainly can come as a thief in the night, first strike. And when I was in Africa, Kenya, Kisumu, Kenya, I was standing on the shores of Lake Victoria just before I came out of Africa. My reason for going there: Jaffa and his Yardie gang threatened to burn my mother alive in her car the next time they saw her. Real evil saw trap. 17 nuns hacked to death in a children's home, not that far from my mother's children's home, by 50 youths with machetes. God confirmed I was to go, and to go urgently. Not one penny from anybody, no sex and donations here, no Oxfam sex scandal here, again I really don't think so. Genuine emergency, life or death situation, a race against time. So the big black cornerstone that came out of Africa, 7 monster lies, 7 bogus diagnoses are built on. And again, no sex and donations, no Oxfam sex scandal here. And if those big monster lies had been true, which they certainly were not, I would have served at least 18 months for a 3-year prison sentence, according to this SS police. Inspector Numbnuts Bunton, Mr. Fix-It, liar, liar, pants on fire, no longer with us. It's always 2 blatant lies from a police inspector, far bigger than Plebgate. Lambert and Glister, Batman and Robin. So I was standing on the shores of Lake Victoria, again watching a big electrical storm over Lake Victoria, which is the size of England. And the other side of Lake Victoria was Rwanda, and the slaughter was relentless. And the Lord Jesus Christ Joshua said, Johnny, the storm is coming. The sword is out in Africa. The sword is out in the Middle East. The sword is out in the Far East, and the sword is out in Europe. And I know it was the Lord's voice in my spirit, so I could understand the sword being out in Africa. I could understand the sword being out in the Middle East. I could understand the sword being out in the Far East, but I was surprised when the Lord said the sword is out in Europe, because nothing was happening in Europe. And then not long after my return, the Balkans, Bosnia and Serbia erupted into war. Loads of evil atrocities and war crimes on both sides, and then we had mass graves on our own front doorstep. And it seemed like the evil that manifested itself in Rwanda had moved to Europe. And we had radar planes up over East Anglia as they were flying bombing missions into Serbia from RAF Mildenhall and Lakenheath over UK air bases in East Anglia. So we're certainly all in range of war. Again, the unexpected when you least expect it, and the sword is out, the storm is coming. And in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 39, Mog and Magog do come out of the far north like an avalanche, followed by the kings of the east, and their number is 200 million, an unstoppable land army who slays 1/3 of mankind now in the end times, and still men refuse to turn from their evil ways. And experts do warn us we have entered the perfect storm, 4 storms converging: financial, natural, solar and war. Again, the perfect storm they call an ET. 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, 7 seals, 7 bowls of judgment because of the evil hearts of men. And again, the kings of the east who slay 1/3 of mankind, and still men will not turn from their evil ways. So we're all in this war of the worlds. One big firestorm, again in more ways than one: financial, natural, solar and war, and certainly can come as a thief in the night. First strike, the unexpected, when we least expect it. I did also have a dream once, one of those sort of vivid dreams. I can still remember it. We were walking up a hillside at night overlooking a burning city. All hell had broken loose. Military jets flew overhead. All power and communication was down because of an EMP strike. We didn't know who or what had started the chain reaction, but all hell had broken loose. We were walking up this hillside at night overlooking a burning city. Then we run into another group of people who told us that was North Korea had started a chain reaction. So one big chain reaction in play. And a lot of people did say 9/11 started the chain reaction that will lead to World War III, Armageddon. And the Lord Jesus Christ Joshua does warn us in the book of Matthew chapter 24 that the birth pains, he likens the earth to a pregnant woman whose labour pains, birth pains are increasing, intensifying, and we've seen that year in, year out for the last decade, all records being broken. So things are certainly intensifying right up till the time of the Great Tribulation. Tribulation unlike the world has ever seen or will ever see again. Unless God shortens those days, no one would survive. And I did live in Spain for a couple of years, but no Christian B, no Roy White and White Band Man, Christian B, Sandringham serial killer here. Black Wizard terrorist issue, I really don't think so. And when I was in Spain, I did get invited on board one of America's biggest aircraft carriers, anchored off Malaga. 5,000 personnel, 90 planes was shown around. Also shown around the control room. And one of the officers in the control room said, "Johnny, there are so many control rooms in the world today, all primed for war, that once it starts there'll be such a chain reaction unlike the world has ever seen. So one spark can set the world on fire." In Africa they call it a tinderbox, because once it ignites, the trouble spreads so fast you cannot outrun it. So again, if God tells you to go, it's only it's time to go. If God tells you to stop, stay, then we all do need to seek the wisdom from above. And sometimes when evil is on the move, we have to be on the move too, stand in the gap, protect those we love. And coming back to Kisumu, Kenya, Africa, how much is your mother's life worth? She has gone home to heaven. She did die suddenly of a heart attack not too long ago, out of the blue, but she knew that was her time to go and said, "Don't revive me, God has told me it's my time to go home." Did spend over 20 years in Kisumu, Kenya. Did save the lives of many orphans and street children by the grace and Spirit of God through the Lord Jesus Christ Joshua. And even though that was COVID in Kisumu and in Kenya, there was over 900 people turned out to pay their respects. So one little woman from Norfolk certainly did make a big difference in Africa, again by the grace and Spirit of God through the Lord Jesus Christ Joshua. In 2008, when Kenya did erupt into violence, Kisumu was one of the worst hit places. Again, I did pray whether I should go and support my mother, but on that occasion God told me to stop. Everything would be okay. And even though all around Covenant Home in Kisumu, Kenya, places were burnt and looted, people were killed, no one touched Covenant Home, and over 500 children took refuge with my mother from both sides of the conflict. That's because of the rigged elections. And there was somewhere the other day, I'm just trying to think where it was, where they've gunned down over 1,000 protesters. Just trying to think what country that was because of rigged elections and the protests. But the soldiers just gunned down 1,000 protesters, but that did ignite Kenya into tribal conflict. Like I say, it's gone a bit blurry now, and sometimes our vision is blurry. It does have to come into focus. Things do become clearer, and that certainly is the truth that will set and make us free. And again, the Lord Jesus Christ, Joshua, just tell us, prepare now while you have the light, the time and the opportunity. Prepare spiritually and practically, because darkness night, evil comes when no man can work. I'll be too late. Prepare then. And a priceless gift of salvation that we can all receive. And it's like if I had the winner numbers to this Saturday night's lottery ticket, and I said these are the winner numbers that have been revealed to me for the lottery this Saturday night, and I'd like to give them to you. Who wouldn't want to receive that gift? But if you won this week's Saturday lottery, or even if you were Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world, you cannot buy the priceless gift of salvation, the pearl of great price, the Lord Jesus Christ, Joshua. That is a priceless gift that we can all receive. Today is the day, and now is the time. Tomorrow may never come or be too late. God's one and only perfect rescue escape plan through the Lord Jesus Christ, Joshua, the one that God sent to set and make the captives free, God's one and only begotten Son, the Ark of the New Covenant. That is you and that is me. So we all need to be in the Ark of the New Covenant, the Lord Jesus Christ, Joshua. Come hell, fire or high water, we may have to move physical location. We do need to seek the wisdom from above. And Russian state TV threatening the UK with nuclear annihilation, saying to hypersonic missiles that can reach the UK in 3 minutes. You won't even have time to boil an egg once the siren goes off on your phones if the missiles are in the air. Also there beside and nuclear drones, we've only had lots of rain and water recently, but they're beside and nuclear drones that can sink the UK in a nuclear tsunami. And in the book of Enoch, there was one place they didn't know if their destruction was going to come by fire or water or both, so we're certainly all in range of war. And again, Russian state TV categorically saying that in the outbreak of World War III they'll bomb London first. Putin also saying that he's not bluffing, he will use nuclear weapons against the West. And the UK and American missiles hitting targets deep inside Russia. So we are all in range. First strike, again on a day just like today. The unexpected when you least expect it, and certainly can come as a thief in the night. First strike. So that's always been a bit of an omen for me. Again, that blinding flashing of light in this at the Stag, Thetford Forest, then that almighty bang, and it sounded like the heavens were tearing apart, and you really could have thought Lightening and Mildenhall had been hit with a missile. And there's been lots of activity yesterday and today, military jets flying around, plenty of planes still going east, coming back east. And also when just as this was going to kick off, the game televised of this winning the Vast Cup at Wembley, also being shown on the Sunday afternoon. And Tackleston Mast was struck by lightning and all the televisions in Norfolk blacked out. So the unexpected when you least expect it. And one big electrical storm that raged across East Anglia. Again, all the pictures in the EDP of all the lightning off Yarmouth, which is in the east, Russia, NATO, Ukraine. And again, when I was in Leningrad, did see scale models of the UK and London, every strategic target marked. More pins in East Anglia than anywhere else. And the two big red pins, Mildenhall and Lakenheath, big US air bases not far from here. And Lakenheath, home and all store and all the nuclear weapons have just been brought into the UK. So if Lakenheath took a big hit, certainly would be game over for the UK. In Dis, Norfolk, UK, 33 miles from RAF Mildenhall and Lakenheath, big US air bases. Also 33 miles from Sizewell, nuclear power stations. That certainly would also become a target in the outbreak of World War III. And another strange thing too, I was watching a film called The Widowmaker, Harrison Ford, the K-19. Widowmaker, when a Russian reactor was in meltdown on a Russian nuclear submarine. And while I was watching the film, I was also online, and this site sent me a random password, walk294. So I thought, well, that's strange. That's a bit of synchronicity, because the Conan tower on the K-19 Widowmaker was also 294. So just out of interest, I googled walk294, and that brought up Dungeness, where Dungeness there's also nuclear power stations. So I'm thinking of watching a video about a Russian nuclear submarine. Obviously there is the Poseidon submarine, Poseidon nuclear drones that can sink the UK. So I'm thinking of a nuclear event, maybe World War III, but and then not long after that, the big tsunami off Japan, and 4 nuclear reactors were in meltdown. And obviously there is concern about the big nuclear power plant in Ukraine, especially after Chernobyl, complete insanity. So one big storm on the horizon, and certainly can come as a thief in the night, first strike. Anyhow, God bless, take care. But just one last little thing, will you escape in time? Will you get out alive? 90 seconds to midnight, and time is certainly running out.